Podcast. I'm Mark.
And I'm Mike. We're two hardworking dads trying to immerse ourselves in Star Wars and fit it into our very busy lives.
If this is your first time listening in this short-form Star Wars podcast, we'll share our thoughts on different topics from the galaxy far, far away.
Hey, Mark, Mike, where do Luke and Leia shop for Father's Day?
Where do they take Imperial credits? I don't know.
They do take Imperial credits at the Darth Mall.
Where all sales are 50% off.
All right, guys. So we're back again this week to talk about all the Star Wars news from the past week, as well as obviously Obi-Wan Kenobi Part 5. This week we have our guest, Mr. Frank Ramblings, as it goes online.
Hey.
How is it? How are you going, Frank?
Doing great. Thanks for having me, guys. It's good to
Thanks
be
for being
here.
Yeah. It's good to have you. Now we've had both of the both of the geeks from Beer with Geeks on the show. So it's good.
The circle is now complete.
Yes, but it's definitely a good week because, as we all know, we all watched that episode that came out today. So we'll get to that in a little bit. But first, we're going to start off this episode with talking about some of like the news from the past week. Some of it we'll just kind of pinpoint like the headlines for it, and then other things we'll talk a little bit further about. But during Obi-Wan, they've been doing like the Obi-Wan Wednesdays, kind of like how in the past they've done like Force Fridays and stuff like that. So like this past week, they debuted a whole bunch of like new Funko figures. Like they did a Tala Funko, and then they did like these kind of like throwback, like vintage looking packaged. I'm trying to remember what like the dimensions are for the figures, but like they're like the, you know, like the bubble package, and they kind of look like the older ones, and it has like Obi-Wan,
like old G.I. Joe type size figures, right?
Yeah, I know it's like a certain like dimension. I just don't know what like the exact like ratio or what it is for it. But like with these, like they have a whole bunch of like the characters we've met this season, like Obi-Wan and a few of the Inquisitors, the Grand
Ned
Inquisitor, Ned B, and then we got Vader in there as well. And then there's also a Lego set from the Part 3 episode, from like the kind of Obi-Wan Vader quarry fight, which that looks pretty cool. It's got like, it's basically just looks like this kind of like gray, more or less.
Yeah, they didn't really do the sand justice with that.
Yeah, no, they kind of phoned it in on that.
Yeah, it almost looks like it's like on like a ship.
It does. Yeah.
Yeah.
That
So
said, I would still love that.
I'd buy the hell out of that.
Yeah.
It's probably $50 too. But and most of the time, like these sets are worth it alone just for like the minifigures you get with them. Cause,
True.
I have
Like
my little R2-D2 Lego figure on my desk from
Nice.
the 90s.
yeah, in front of me, I have all they did the Marvel line of like the What If figures, or well, I guess Marvel Disney Plus shows, because it's like WandaVision, Falcon, Winter Soldier, Loki, and whatnot. But I have all those sitting in front of me while we're recording.
Sweet.
And then there's also a plushie of Lola, which what I thought was kind of funny with like all this Lola merchandise that they've done. They've kind of added like these like feet,
Legs.
yeah, like legs.
Yeah. What's that about?
And like the only thing I'd think of is like just because like she hovers, or yeah, the droid hovers in the show, so like I guess that's I don't know. It still doesn't really make sense because they haven't like shown Lola like dropping her feet down at any point. Maybe
One episode left.
yeah.
Oh man, must
Might
be a
happen.
spoiler for part 6.
Oh man, Mattel, you spoiled it. It was going to be a big reveal. Lola was going to drop her feet and it was save the day. But beyond like some of these Funkos, they released some other stuff too. Like the past couple of days of O'Shea Jackson Jr.'s character also has a Funko coming out, and a few others. But it looks like some of those are going to be like San Diego Comic-Con like exclusive figures, apparently. So kind of.
Now, do you think the people these are made to look like get free ones, or do they have to buy them themselves?
That I don't know, because I think it depends. Because I've heard like when they used to do the Star Wars show on YouTube.
Yeah.
Like sometimes when they would have certain people on there, like Cameron Monaghan or whoever it may be, they would talk about like they had to they would get sent like basically a care package of their stuff, and then others they had to go out and buy all of their stuff. So
Probably depends on what level you are.
Probably. Yeah.
And then at a certain point, it's also how weird is it to have a bunch of
laying around.
like toys or like action figures that look like you in your house.
This is my little closet shrine to myself.
Yeah. Like, I guess it'd be cool
pray to it nightly.
Like, even if you give them as gifts, that might seem weird too, because then it's like, would you
You need
would
to
you
look
like,
at me forever.
Yeah,
would you like
yeah.
this likeness of me? But
That said, I do have a Lego minifig of myself.
nice.
I'm okay with that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
My
a little
son
jealous.
did that. My son did that when he was younger. He like kind of configurated.
Frankenstein himself.
Conflagulated.
Yeah, there you go.
Conflict
That's the word I was
afforded?
looking for.
Yeah. I got you.
But yeah, he Frankenstein to the pieces together to kind of like make me, himself, and my wife. And I liked that I think he used Barbossa's head from the minifigure
Nice.
for me, just because it was the only one he had that had the beard, and then he just took the hair off of it, because
Nice.
Frank knows.
Oh yeah. I feel it. I feel that.
But yeah. I guess I'm glad he didn't put like the bald, because there's that bald minifigure thing that you can put on top of it.
Yes, that is a hate crime though.
Yeah. Yeah, at least
Baldism.
Yeah.
there's the George Costanza minifig now too. That's like the full horseshoe.
The horseshoe.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah. Anyways, so yeah, moving on from the toys, kind of like a cool little like almost Star Wars history was that for back when they did Revenge of the Sith, Gary Oldman, he had done like a recent interview where he had talked about that he had actually voiced a lot of the dialogue for General Grievous for Revenge of the Sith, and then apparently due to like union, well, like what he said, quote unquote, union stuff and non-union stuff, and due to the film being shot primarily in Australia, basically they couldn't use his voice recordings for the movie.
Well,
So
don't the
that's why-
unions hate George Lucas? There's something there with him and the unions. Like,
I don't remember if it was SAG or like the PGA, DGA. But when Star Wars came out, when A New Hope came out,
yeah,
he did get penalized by one of the.
because he didn't want to put anyone's names on the posters and stuff. And
Yeah, and well, and
Something like
because he didn't have an opening credit sequence. He goes right into the
Yeah.
crawl, and so he got fined, and I think he left. I think it was the Writers Guild, and he quit the WGA after that.
I knew there was something.
Yeah.
So that's why we ended up with Matt Wood, who's awesome as General Grievous.
Yes.
Anyways. He's kind of like the heir apparent to Ben Burtt. Anyways, at Lucas, well, not Lucasfilm, but Skywalker Sound.
Yes.
Gary Oldman said that it was a positive experience that he had with it, and he liked working with George Lucas despite like everything that happened with that. I think that would be interesting to like hear, because I know like a while back, like we got like somehow they like, I don't know if it leaked online or like it was released officially by DreamWorks, but we got like that, like the Chris Farley version of Shrek audio. So it could be interesting to see like if somehow, some way, for whatever reason, someday we got to hear the Gary Oldman version of General Grievous.
Because he's
Or
the
did he
Sith.
make it all up?
He's the Sith that the Empire deserves, but not the one it needs right now.
Yeah. But yeah. I think it's interesting too. Like, I don't know. Like, I wonder if he did like a voice for it as well too, or if it was just, like straight up Gary Oldman.
Gary
as-
Oldman.
Gary Oldman voice. But that's pretty interesting stuff there. But the other thing that I thought was kind of interesting is this next bit of news is for the Bad Batch season 2, and a little bit of a connection to Obi-Wan as well. Is that the character of Commander Cody is going to be returning for season 2 of the Bad Batch. Now, in the Bad Batch season 1, like we kind of met up with Rex again, who was with Ahsoka a lot, and Anakin. So this should be interesting with Commander Cody to see if like he's also had his inhibitor chip deactivated, or if he's going to be still on basically like the side of the bad guys at that point. And if he has had it deactivated, that should be interesting to see if he's got any kind of I guess like regrets about like what he did to, or what he maybe thinks that he did to Obi-Wan, because he probably assumes that he did kill Obi-Wan.
Sure.
So I think that should be interesting to see kind of like that whole storyline, especially like with more of the Bad Batch, like crossing paths with maybe other past clones that we've seen in other seasons. And then we saw like a kind of almost Vietnam vet type clone in Obi-Wan this season too. So it should be interesting to see like how the different clones are kind of dealing with the aftermath of the end of the Clone Wars and like the start of like the Republic as it is. But that I'm looking forward to that. That's going to be later this year around the same time as Andor, like later this summer. So looking forward to that too. And then speaking of Obi-Wan, now I don't know if you guys have noticed this, but I've seen like this kind of theory that's been starting to go around, and especially after watching the episode today, I'm wondering if this kind of theory still works too, with that each part of Obi-Wan Kenobi so far is kind of mirrored each of the first 6 Star Wars films, with like part 1 episode Phantom kind of mirrors Phantom Menace, with it like starting on Tatooine, some of the parallels there with everything in that film. And then now like some of these feel like they're kind of reaching like with
that's what I thought. It was a bit of a reach.
Yeah, like episode 2, like with like the Neon City, and like how episode 2 has like the whole like the underground portion of Coruscant, like and then like episode 3 kind of has like the best kind of like correlation there, just because it's the first time Vader and Obi-Wan fight each other in this, so it's got that whole correlation with Revenge of the Sith
and one of them gets burned.
Yeah. And it's in the Mustafar system as well too, so it's got that going for it. And then obviously episode 4, that had a whole ton of New Hope mirrors in that, like with obviously Leia being taken and interrogated and all of that, Obi-Wan on the ship sneaking around and all that. But after we saw episode 5 today, I don't know if that really mirrors.
I don't know how that would Empire Strikes Back mirror.
Here was okay. So I was just talking about this with a couple of friends, one of whom was Tim actually, and one of our friends suggested this: Vader wrecks a rebel base, but they escape just in time.
That
you
works.
got your Hoth, and you got this.
And I almost thought. We'll get to it more when we talk about the episode, but like as he sees like a ship starting to fly away, I thought he was just gonna stand there and like just kind of watch it fly away.
Nope. He's gonna pull it down and pull the shit apart.
Yeah. So I was like
crazy.
I got Force Unleashed with that with Galen Merrick.
So what does this mean? Does it mean we're getting Ewoks next week, or hopefully ATSTs at least?
Yeah. Yub Nub intensifies.
Yep. Yes.
Nice.
Timing.
And speaking of Obi-Wan as well, it seems like there's a rumor that it might be reportedly heading to theaters for like a marathon of all 6 parts back to back to back to back.
I'd be there. Just saying.
Now, I'm not sure like how wide of like a kind of like an event this is. It seems like it might be like a kind of
New York, LA thing.
yeah, New York, LA type thing where it's like special ticketed type of event thing. It says it's 5 hours and 20 minutes long for that. So that's basically kind of like deleting all of the credits out of each of like, you know, the first 5 episodes.
Sure.
Because like half of that most of the time is like 10 minutes long.
Well, yeah, the episodes are 40 minutes, and then you get to 33, and the credits start.
Yes.
Yeah, and I saw some rumor that like the finale is gonna be like an hour and 20 minutes too. So I don't know where all this stuff's coming, but
I feel like it has to be more than 30 minutes.
I sure hope so.
Yeah.
I agree with that sentiment, very much so.
But yeah, from what this says, it seems like, yeah, that it looks like it's gonna be, or as far as like this like rumor says, is that it would be like in Cineplex theaters on the day the finale premieres on Disney Plus.
Is Cineplex a brand, or are they just like a generic term for movie theaters? I know Cinemark. I don't know if Cineplex is. That's just my question on that.
Cineplex is a brand, so and it looks like it's Canadian. So it looks like So it looks like the screenings for this, if they are going to be taking place, it looks like looks like it would be theater locations in Canada.
That makes sense. That makes more sense.
Those lucky Canadians are.
I know.
I
was gonna say, I feel like if this was happening next week, we would know by now.
Yeah.
They'd be selling tickets already.
Yeah, and it would be cool like if they did this more often though too. It's always like kind of nice when they do like the special kind of like premiere finale events for like TV shows like that. Like my son and I, like years ago, like when Rebels premiered, they did like a special thing for that where we got to go see the premiere of that show in theaters. That was really cool. And I think with like the last season of Clone Wars, they may have done that as well.
I was gonna say
like the last stretch of episodes of that.
I remember during Clone Wars, I got to go to one or two. I had an internship where I was able to go to a couple of those. Nice. I saw the whole Night Sisters arc, where they introduced Savage Opress. Yeah, that was cool. Got to see that in theaters.
Nice. It would be cool if they do that with like, even if it's like Fathom events or something like that.
Yeah, agreed.
They do stuff like that with like Star Trek and like Kevin Smith has done a bunch of stuff with them too.
Working at the theater, the only one I remember is they always did the Met Opera.
Oh yeah.
That's like the one that's always going on. That and like the riff tracks they always have going on too. But yeah, I'd be all for like if Disney ever set something up or did some kind of opportunity where you could see like The Mandalorian or Bad Batch or any of like Andor of any of that stuff like in the theater, I'd go to it. I know all three of us would go to it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So, but it seems like most of the time, at least with Disney, that stuff kind of tends to happen at the El Capitan in LA, just because that's like their theater, they own it, so they get all the money for it. So
yeah,
don't got to pay much for it.
Yeah. It's always available for them.
Yeah. And then the last bit of news before we start talking about this week's episode of Obi-Wan there's just a little bit of more news about Taika Waititi's Star Wars film. It was that he basically was saying that his film is basically going to expand upon the Star Wars galaxy and will move away from like pre-existing characters. It won't be like any like prequel origin stories to any like characters that we know like Yoda or anybody from the Skywalker saga or anything like that. It's gonna be like brand new characters that we can follow along, which I think is pretty cool because I mean that's a big enough galaxy to do all this stuff with all these newer characters that we've met in Obi-Wan so far. Many of them could, it'd be cool to follow them on stories in their own kind of right. So I think it's cool that he's going to be doing this. There's still not a title for his movie,
right
now, and all of his films are very tight. So they're usually like around 2 hours or just slightly over 2 hours. So I think when his Star Wars film does come out, it'll probably be maybe like one of the like shorter Star Wars saga films. What would you guys want to see from a Taika Star Wars movie that's completely brand new somewhere in the universe that we haven't seen before?
I keep thinking of like a version of What We Do in the Shadows, but like it takes place on some like obscure Imperial outpost. That's like what we do on this starbase. I don't know, but like it's like a workplace comedy about people working for the Empire.
That'd be cool.
I agree with that because I've been saying for every episode I'm on, I want Star Wars comedy.
Yeah.
So,
like, I know they've been specifically for like SNL as like you said, like comedy, but I think it would be funny if there was something like along the lines of, or if they did a movie that was similar to like that, like the Undercover Boss sketches they did with like Matt, the radar technician.
Vader shows up with a mustache on.
Yeah, be like,
Walking
you guys
around.
see here, Kylo Ren has an 8-pack. But I feel like Taika has a good sensibility of mixing like a comedic kind of film, but with like the right kind of drama and action to it, as we've like seen from like the Thor films and Jojo Rabbit.
Yeah.
And so
I could see them approving like a Swing Kids type Star Wars movie where you have two friends in this outpost in the middle of nowhere. One's leaning like I can't remember the exact plot of Swing Kids, but like it has to do with Nazis and all that, and like them, but like them not wanting to join and like basically being forced, and I don't know, something to do like, if I can remember exactly Swing Kids, like I remember the movie, I can't describe it, but it's like they're one like is all for Nazism and one's against it, and then there's swing music, but get rid of the swing music, something like that.
Yeah, let's get
Could
Max
be
Rebo in
interesting.
here.
Yeah, and then I'm also curious to like obviously what the character will be that Taika will play in the movie too. If it'll be voice only or if it'll be like him in full physical attributions.
I mean, they were going to try the comedy route with Solo at first, and it, when they had Lord and Miller on board, but they obviously sort of veered in a different direction with that. But maybe they trust Taika to be able to take it to more of a comedic place. I don't know. We'll see, I guess. But I do like that he has that desire to let the universe expand and not have everything always be interconnected. I think that's a valid instinct. I love when there's fan service and things connect, but I also love news stories.
Yeah. And I mean,
have to go news stories.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I know he said that it's not going to be any pre-existing characters, but since Taika already does exist in the Star Wars universe as IG-11,
yes,
maybe IG-11 returns, and that's
down.
Taika in it.
I'd be down for that.
A droid comedy. There you go. Droid workplace comedy.
That'd be cool. I'd watch
That'd be great.
But yeah,
Just
that's
complaining about the humans, creatures, and all that.
So that'll wrap up our news portion of the episode. Next, you're going to hear Vector's voicemail that he sent in again for this week. So that'll play now. And then when that's done, you'll hear us start talking about Part 5 of Obi-Wan Kenobi.
Obi-Wan Episode 5. Ooh-wee! This was the best episode of the season so far, and I can't wait for Episode 6. Everything that I've been wanting and loving about the show came together in Episode 5. The Vader scene, I just, every second he was on screen, I was giddy inside, and when he grabbed the ship with the Force, my arms went up uncontrollably. I just could not contain myself. So I cannot say how much I love this episode, and setting up the final battle in Episode 6, and we got to see Qui-Gon. Come on, it's a given. We got to see Qui-Gon, Liam Neeson at the end there, and we got to have a fantastic battle between Obi-Wan and Vader. When I left you, I was but the learner. Now I am the master.
All right, and we are back. Thank you for that review, Vector. I'm not sure I would have said that, but
disappointing.
Yeah.
Just disappointing.
This guy,
Yeah. The thoughts of Trent Vector are not correlated by those of the Hold Maneuver podcast.
Yeah, I'd like to distance myself personally from I disavow.
Yeah. Well, speaking of disavowing, or I guess, no, wait. Anyways, Frank, what now we asked him this last week to kind of catch up with him on like what he thought of the first 3 parts. What have you thought of the first 4 parts of Obi-Wan Kenobi leading into part 5?
I've been very, very like I've been on the edge of my seat each week to see where things go. Like this is first thing in the morning. I'm on Wednesday mornings. I'm watching the new Obi-Wan. I've loved this season so far. It's been, first of all, at a baseline level, it's just a treat to see Ewan returning and to have Hayden on board as well, and to see Hayden getting his moment with the fandom that I think he deserves. It's great to see all that happening, and great to see such a high quality series come out of it. And it's been a really great dive into this period in history. It would be very easy to do a very bad job telling the story between the stories. But I've really appreciated the thoughtfulness that goes into it. I think that that brain trust that's there now, with Deborah Chow obviously taking the lead on this one, but Dave Filoni and John
Favreau?
Yeah.
That guy. John F.
Yeah, wow, total brain fart. But the guy from Chef, the Tony Stark director guy, Happy Hogan,
Happy Hogan
has been great. No, but they've done a really great job behind the scenes to shepherd this the Star Wars universe on the small screen, and I've been very happy with it so far.
Yeah, so I would say I definitely agree with both of you so far. Like as far as parts 1 through 4, I've really been enjoying them. Now, of those first 4 episodes, what were some of like your favorite things that happened in them, Frank?
I really loved seeing I always love a good heist story, good heist episode. So rescuing Leia from the station was a really cool one for me. Honestly, seeing Alderaan and seeing what Bail Organa has been up to, what Owen has been up to, like catching up with that side of where the Skywalker twins are and what's going on in their lives in the last 10 years was really cool for me. And honestly, I've enjoyed all the Order 66 flashbacks that we've gotten. That's a chapter of Star Wars that we keep coming back to throughout animated and live action, and it's cool to see new perspectives on that.
Definitely, yeah. And before we get into this, I want to just say to Mike, you remember that theory I had way back in episode 1 when I was like, hey, that little girl that they focused on right there at the beginning.
You were right.
I was like,
yes. Nailed it.
When we were watching it, I was like, I called that. Now, I can't claim that I'm the only person on the internet that thought that.
No, yes, you can. Yes, you can. No one else said that.
Yeah, you don't.
They're
all trolls. They're all robots. They don't count.
Yeah.
That is how the internet works. I can just say that, and it's true.
Yeah.
Yep.
So,
yeah.
Everybody was the only person on the internet. Everybody copied me.
That's it.
Yeah.
There you go.
So, yeah. Anyways, yeah. So, yeah, we'll talk about this episode. We'll kind of like break it down into the kind of different segments of the episode as we got to it. So what's kind of cool is that this episode started and I noticed Coruscant and I was like, oh, that's interesting. And then it like pans down and I was like, oh man.
Oh no.
I was like, oh. I was like, yes. So when you guys realized this was a flashback, what were kind of like your first reactions to like seeing that? I guess Frank first, then Mike.
I was hoping for flashbacks, and so I was excited to see it happening. I guess I was not disappointed, but just genuinely surprised that they didn't de-age Hayden Christensen at all.
Yeah,
I can agree with that. The de-aging thing, as I've told Mark many times, he looks older than Ewan in real life.
Yeah, he kind of does. And Ewan has actually aged great. And not to say that Hayden hasn't, but he doesn't look 20, to be fair.
Yeah.
So I was surprised they didn't do any sort of touch-up or anything apart from makeup.
Yeah. And then I was also kind of surprised. Like, I know a lot of people were wanting, like myself included, if we were going to get flashbacks to them, maybe to be live-action Clone Wars flashbacks.
Yeah.
Like, set
Still
during
can.
that time. Yeah, and I guess we still could in the last episode. Who knows? But it definitely was a surprise to get basically pre the events of Attack of the Clones era, Obi-Wan and Anakin sparring as Padawan and Jedi Knight. Yeah, so I thought that was really cool. And then, because we don't really get flashbacks a lot in Star Wars, at least not.
No, we don't.
Not if you're not in a back to tank.
Right.
But it's only been like recently, like between like Book of Boba Fett.
Yeah, with the characters who existed in prior.
Yeah. Right.
So it is kind of a cool, like, interesting device that they're kind of starting to use now, like within like the landscape of Star Wars. I'm not mad at it, but it's just definitely interesting to see it being utilized now when it hasn't really been utilized prior to 2021.
Yeah.
No, I thought it was a very good flashback to have. Just like you said, the sparring, and
Yeah.
it kind of told the story of the episode in a way, how it was going to play out.
Yeah, those are my favorite kind of flashbacks, and like that's a reason why I liked the TV series Lost so much. Was at least many of the times the flashbacks on that show correlated to some kind of story that was going on in the present in that episode, or spoiler alert, flash forwards correlated to stuff going on in the past, present.
Now, what's the rule with spoiler alerts? Because Lost has been out forever.
I don't know. But yeah, spoiler alert anyways. But yeah, so like that makes them more powerful, I think, too, because and then like as we can kind of see like through this episode, like how some of the stuff mirrors like what's going on with Obi-Wan and Vader / Anakin in this, and how that, and then we can kind of talk about it here anyways, but I noticed like when Vader is fighting Reva near like the end of the episode, he basically takes that move that Obi-Wan taught him during that sparring match and uses it against her in a way. And I saw some other people saying this, but I was like, oh wait, is he gonna Dooku her?
I thought that too. I thought for sure.
But he did not Dooku her.
No.
And I like that Dooku is now a verb as well as a noun.
Claim it. Claim it.
Did you get Dooku'd? That's a new term for decapitation in the Star Wars universe.
Or just in general.
Yeah.
Just make it common.
Yeah. Why limit ourselves?
Take Dooku back.
Yeah, so like after that, like that whole initial flashback that we see with Kenobi and Skywalker sparring and whatnot, cut back to the present with Reva on the bridge of the Star Destroyer, the Devastator, with Vader. Then he makes her the Grand Inquisitor at that point, and they're just about to make their way to Jabin at that time as well. And then after that, you see that they cut to Roken back on the transport with the kind of like the atmosphere, and he's landing at the Path Space. And then when we get there, like Leia, Tala, and Sully, they're all surprised to see Kamal Nanjiani. Haja is there as well, and that he had fled Dayu after getting into the fight with the third sister. So it was kind of cool to see Kamal again in this episode and see a little bit more with him. And he survives this episode too, so it'll be interesting to see if he has more to do in the finale as well. But now, what did you guys think of like this whole like as like they land and they see like all the people that are there as part of the path and that have been waiting there this entire time.
I felt like, well, with Kumail specifically, I kind of wonder if he's going to pop up in Ahsoka or in Andor. With Andor, honestly, the timeline, kind of works out there, where it could be, a handful of years from now, he could still be kicking around, and he could play some part in that. That would be kind of fun. I wonder, it kind of makes me wonder why they would pull in someone who's sort of a big enough name, that why would he only be in a couple of episodes unless maybe he was going to make other appearances as well.
Right.
But I'm waiting for him to do something a little more significant.
Yeah, exactly.
And to show off all that training that he did for Eternals too.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, he was barely in that.
Yeah, exactly. I always love to see him. But for the rest of the followers of the path, I was concerned about the sacrificing the folks there to out Obi-Wan. I was worried about seeing that and worrying about how far he would let that get before he stepped forward. If he was gonna for Leia's protection, if he would have to make some tough decisions. But I was glad to see that he made ultimately the right choice.
Yeah. I liked this whole segment too, and one of my friends, Rob, his wife Kim, is actually in this episode.
Oh, cool.
She's one of the path members that are there. There's a quick shot. I shared it on the Holdo Instagram, but where she's standing behind Leia in the episode. So I guess when she shot it, they had to do the whole 3D scanning her and whatnot. And even though she doesn't have a name in the episode, I guess they gave her a Star Wars name and everything. So she's within their database now to be used as whatever they want to now. I guess in a video game or animated series or whatever else. But I thought that was interesting. And one of the stories he had told me that when they were shooting that is they kept having to reshoot a scene there because O'Shea Jackson Jr. kept saying the word dude. and Deborah Chow was like, you can't say dude. The word dude doesn't exist in the Star Wars universe. So I guess they had to reshoot part of the scenes here a few times just because he kept saying dude. Although I think it would have been cool if his character had brought the word dude into the Star Wars universe.
Sure.
They have all kinds of languages. Why can't dude exist?
There you go.
Yeah. But I just thought that was a little bit of a funny thing. And then, so in here, then we also see the effects of what Reva had done to Lola in the prior episode with basically putting the bolt on her, and she goes in and hacks into the electrical systems, which closes off the hangar roof, which basically kind of sets the rest of the episode into motion there.
Mm-hmm.
I'm confused by that little aspect a little bit, because it's I put a tracker on it. Oh wait, now it knows exactly what to do, where to go, and how to do it.
Yeah, a little more than just a tracker.
Yeah,
more than just a GPS.
I guess we're just supposed to accept it because R2 can basically do that on any ship.
Yeah.
In the universe, but.
What are those bolts called again?
Restraining bolt.
The restraining bolt. I don't know if I don't think there's prior. I don't know, history in Star Wars of that also hacking whatever droid that it's on, other than not allowing the droid to be able to do certain things. It's almost like a firewall in a way for the.
Wasn't there one on R2 or C-3PO in A New Hope?
Yeah. That's why he couldn't play back the entire message.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I've never seen it make it so that they could do something rather than.
Yeah, that's the one thing I was confused by in the beginning. Was oh, this droid knows exactly how to foil their plan.
This restraining bolt is more like a USB stick with some software upgrade on it.
Yeah, it's just.
But yeah, I thought that was kind of interesting. But then later on, Leia just takes it off, and Leia's like, "Hey, what's up?"
Just pop, done.
But I liked. I saw someone else say this too, like with Leia's like, "I need a ladder," that they got strong get this man a shield vibes.
Oh yes.
From it was our past guest Adam. I saw him say that online somewhere. But I thought that was kind of funny, and then that's what I was thinking of while I was watching it. And then a little bit later in this, we see like another. It cuts back to the flashback again with Anakin and Obi-Wan, and it's basically like Obi-Wan and Anakin, and Obi-Wan's essentially training him that his basically his goal basically to be the best or to win is what basically is his downfall, and opens him up to basically defeat because of that, and that the Jedi goal is to defend life rather than to kill. So you can kind of see. I like just because of like the built-in aspect of like the Clone Wars, and now like through flashbacks in this too, like how it keeps deepening, like I guess the lore and like reasonings for like how like Anakin's fall to the dark side wasn't like a light switch. It's like a gradual decline over time, with like a little bad decision here, a little bad decision there, killing an entire tribe of sand people there. So
killing a bunch of kids here, killing
small bad decisions here and there. It's fine.
Yeah,
I think with the flashbacks, it's kind of just made me thinking, is this the last positive memory Obi-Wan had of Anakin? Is that why? Like, I understand why Deborah chose to show it the way she did. It kind of helps tell the story. But in the subtext, is this like him? Like, this kid was so good and so.
Yeah.
Is that why he's thinking of it? Type deal. Yeah. Unless he's not supposed to be thinking of it. I don't know.
But the other thing I thought there that was kind of funny was that someone said, I think it was O'Shea Jackson Jr.'s character. He's something like, they'll attack us, and Obi-Wan's like, no, he won't be. He doesn't have the patience to wait. He'll just
right.
Yeah.
We're like, oh, how do you know that? Like, oh,
well,
he's not a very patient dude.
A little space birdie told me.
Yeah. So
and then Obi-Wan's like, you have an hour. Like, after that. Who's the patient now?
Yeah.
How long do you need? 5 hours. You have one.
Like what is this, Star Trek? Like Scotty being like, I need 30 minutes, Captain. You have 10.
So why'd you ask me how much time?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, exactly. Just tell me what.
just tell me the amount of time that I have.
We could have saved a lot of back and forth if you just said you have an hour.
Yeah. So and then after this, like Kenobi tasks Roken and his fighters with reopening the facility's hangar roof within that hour, like we said. But during like that siege, the Imperial ships like descend on the planet, and all of the path defenders get to work like sealing like up the remaining entrances. So like there's basically like a bottleneck so that they can only come in at them at like one way. And then we see like the stormtroopers, and we see the elite purge troopers like surround the facility, and with them is Reva kind of leading the way. Now I thought this was kind of interesting too, because they have like those like the big kind of like gunner kind of blaster guns, and then but I felt like she was just kind of like walking around in front of them.
Well, that's one thing I noticed too. Like they line up the stormtroopers in front of each other, and yet they don't hit each. Well, granted, they're bad shots. We all know that, but they never shoot each other in the back of the head or anything. They're all in a straight line shooting. Like how is it? I don't know.
Just how bad they are.
Exactly. Just terrible shots all around.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then like during this, Obi-Wan kind of tasks Haja to keep an eye on Leia while she's up in the vent trying to fix everything for them. And then he goes to basically check on like this more or less voicemail that he got from
from the Vector.
Yeah, from Memphis Jedi. Yeah, but Bail Organa has sent him like a message, basically, kind of like, I haven't heard you from you in a while. Why are you ghosting? Why are you ghosting me, Obi-Wan?
In case this falls in the wrong hands, here's some details that no one should know.
Yep.
Yeah, and if it's broken, it'll still be those very important details that come through.
Just the right syllables.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Boy.
How'd it break? That's what I want to know. Did someone step on it?
Yeah.
I guess, yeah.
Because he like had it in his hand and he ran. No one's behind him. But
Yeah, true. Yeah.
Yeah, we'll get back to that because
more on that in a minute.
Yeah.
Sand, it gets everywhere.
Yeah, and I feel like this is. I'm not sure like how much this is setting up for the finale because I don't really know how much they can do because I don't want to like cut into much of what we're going to talk about at the end of this, but I'm not sure how much they can do with Luke on Tatooine, like where it doesn't like interfere with like what we already know what's going on, and because Leia would have to get dropped off because Leia and Luke can't meet each other, and then so that's part of like what I'm trying to figure out because I'm very curious what's going to be in this last episode because it seems like they're setting something up with Owen, Obi-Wan, Luke, and Tatooine. So unless like this next episode starts with them dropping off Leia and Alderaan, you're like, all right, that was a cool adventure.
Bye.
Peace out. I'll see you in about.
My guess is
9 years.
They're dropping her off. The mom's like, "Oh, Belle went to Tatooine to find you," and that's how they go.
Yeah.
Something like that.
Or maybe, like Reva, like captures Belle and Owen, or something like that. Reva's definitely gonna die before the end of this. I thought she was gonna die by the end of this episode.
Apparently, getting stabbed in the stomach with a lightsaber is not a death sentence.
It means nothing anymore.
If you want revenge, you'll stay alive, as can be seen from Darth Maul.
Yes.
And the Grand Inquisitor, as we saw later in this episode. But
and the Emperor apparently.
Yep.
Yeah, and the Emperor somehow Palpatine survived.
Yeah.
But yeah, we get the transmission. Kenobi reassures Tala that everything's gonna be all right. And so like this next scene too, like when Tala kind of gives a little bit more of like her backstory and confides like in him, and like gives like this whole backstory about how like she rounded up Force sensitive families and like how a bunch of like children were killed from the Inquisitors, that she's been trying to make amends for her wrongdoings. So I was like, oh, she's gonna die.
Mm-hmm.
I missed something with her because she like, that's why I carry this, and like she showed something, but I didn't see what it was. 2 times, so 2 viewings, I missed it, and I never went back.
There's like on her holster, there's like these like kind of tally marks there to for, like,
that's what I thought it was.
Yeah, like each trooper that she's knocked out or
another notch,
blast, pew-pewed. Yeah, these are all the pew-pews that I've gotten. But yeah, so like from there, we then go to like the outer doors, and Kenobi ends up getting to. It's kind of like the Frozen scene in this episode where Obi-Wan is Anna and Reva is also on either side of there. Yeah, if someone's listening to this, do a piece of art that's Obi-Wan and Reva is
nice.
Anna
To Lana
and
build
Elsa.
a snowman.
Yeah, and Obi-Wan's just like, okay, bye. But yeah, they talk about how like Kenobi questions how she knew Vader's identity as Anakin, since he believes she was too young to have known him, and then he figures out, like I did in episode 1, that Reva was the young
humble
the
brag.
Yeah, really.
Yeah. Insert Lonely Island. I'm so humble music here. But yeah, she. I thought this was cool too. Like when they showed these flashbacks as well,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And now, because I'd seen like other people have theories that like maybe like Anakin didn't actually kill younglings, because in Revenge of the Sith, you never actually see him.
It's true.
Oh no, he chopped the hell out of him, as we see
Well,
today.
Now we know he did, but it was always kind of implied in Revenge of the Sith, but never like straight up like, oh yeah, no, he killed the younglings.
Sorry, kids.
But
Oops.
yeah, and speaking of that, they had like that whole kind of
Disclaimer.
disclaimer at the beginning of the episode, so I figured there's gonna be more flashbacks to younglings during Order 66. But yeah, so I mean, this was kind of interesting too, like in how like Reva's like haunted by like her memories of Anakin like killing her like fellow younglings there, and she said that she'd believed that Vader was there to help them, and when he started murdering people, she basically played dead to
Well, I thought like
not get
because
killed.
the last flashback they show of it, he's like, I thought it was like supposed to implying that he stabbed her. But
Yeah,
I guess I'd have to go back and rewatch it again.
I think like dramatically it's just like shot that way,
Yeah.
but like she's seeing it from kind of like a distance, and then I guess, although I feel like Anakin would, although he's probably too busy like just laying waste everything to like kind of like stay around and like hover around, but like and
Make
sense
sure
if
they're
she's,
all gone.
Yeah, take the
and
pulse
sense
of
if she's
everybody.
still alive.
Yeah.
Yeah, so, and then like from this, like Kenobi realizes that Reva's planning to kill Vader and asks her to work with him, but she's still just distrustful of Obi-Wan and questions his like desire to kill Vader, pointing out that Kenobi wasn't there to protect her and the other Jedi at the temple, even though he was the one that trained Anakin. And I was like, well, Obi-Wan's already feeling pretty bad, and like he was already feeling all that, and you're like,
I forget where he was in the can't when he was doing that. I just can't remember.
He was on Utapau fighting
Grievous.
Grievous.
That's right.
During the whole thing.
Gary Oldman.
Yeah, there you go. And the Grand Inquisitor's cousins.
Yes.
Yeah, so like I thought this was like pretty powerful too, like with that, like pouring basically salt in the wound of Obi-Wan for like already feeling like horrible about all of that, and she rejects Kenobi's offer to help and believes that she can take on Vader herself, and then she uses her saber to cut her way through the metal gate, and so that
quite easily, by the way.
Yeah.
Well, I mean,
I feel like Qui-Gon had to put up quite a fight, but she was able to cut through a door no problem.
Well, that's because they had that Trade Federation money, so they had like
that's true.
That thick door. This is just the path. They have like
just,
this.
Yeah. All right, fair enough.
They have that flimsy door that you can like buy like at the dollar store.
Oh man.
Yeah.
It's just a screen door.
Yeah.
It's about as funny as a screen door on a battleship.
That's what the rebels have.
But yeah, so once it's breached, Kenobi uses the Force to kind of hurl her back. I thought that was pretty cool. Like she just like gets pushed and like slides back with that. This whole like gun battle breaks out between the stormtroopers and the path. Everybody's running around. We see Tala and Ned B shoot at the Imperials, and Kenobi also this whole scene was really cool. I liked all this action with like Kenobi deflecting all the blasters and taking out troopers, and Tala was doing a great job shooting at them. Even like Ned B, like I didn't know that droid was gonna be able to like, I didn't know that was like part of like his like programming to shoot. So I thought that was pretty awesome. But there's just so many troopers coming at them that they basically all get like pushed down this hallway. And
those restraining bolts work wonders.
Yeah.
So.
And again, like during that, Tala gets hit and falls to the ground. So I was like, man, Obi-Wan does not have good luck with women he starts to form a bond with between. Wow, I knew her name while we were watching the episode, and now it's escaping me.
Satine?
Yeah, Satine. Between Satine on Mandalore, and now Tala in Obi-Wan Kenobi. It's like, no, that's why when we see Obi-Wan again, he's just living that Obi-Wan bachelor life in his hut. But dude can't catch a break with anything. But it's kind of cool too is that Ned B gets shot up, but as he gets shot up, he kind of kneels down and shields her.
Yeah, that was cool.
The only thing I'm mad about is we didn't get to see him use that giant hammer. Like I wanted to see him hit something with that hammer.
It's maybe it was in a deleted scene. Maybe we'll get that in the Disney gallery behind the scenes. Be like, here's what he would have done with the hammer. But yeah, she pulls out the classic thermal detonator. And I thought she was gonna throw it at first, but
me too.
She just straight up holds on to that thing, and R.I.P. Tala.
Yeah.
So then Kenobi is obviously all distraught because of that, but it seals like the inner blast door, and then with that, Kenobi and the surviving fighters kind of retreat to the inner sanctum of the base, only to find that Leia's still trying to open that hangar roof, and Vader and Reva have breached the inner sanctum. Vader tells the captain to order Reva to stand down, believing that Kenobi is in their grasp. So then it cuts to a flashback again as well, and we see kind of like the end of like this whole sequence there. So like believing kind of like that they've lost, Kenobi wants to go back and surrender to Vader, so he basically gives himself up. With that, like Roken objects, saying that if he does that, Tala's sacrifice would have been in vain, and he basically does it anyways because he wants to stop Vader, but he knows there's other ways to do it rather than with like his lightsaber. Yeah, so he hands off the communicator and saber to Kamal, and we'll come back to that in a brief minute there. So like after he walks out and surrenders himself, we see we see like Leia finally catches Lola in there and is able to deactivate the restrainer bolt and then open the door. And then at that point, we then see Vader enter the base because Vader is like fixated on Kenobi. So at that point, like what do you guys think of like all this as like Vader makes it into the fortress, meets with Reva, and wants to know where Kenobi is, and then there's kind of like this face off.
It made me hate the Inquisitor's lightsabers more.
I was wondering if this would happen this episode or the next. After her conversations with Obi-Wan, I kind of thought, okay, maybe this will come to a climax next episode where she'll finally turn on Vader. But they actually went for it this episode, which pleasantly surprised me, and now has me wondering, how much bigger must the finale be if we got this in the penultimate episode.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, the whole fight scene, it was cool, and I liked how they did it. Like, nobody was jumping around doing flips and shit.
Right,
But when she turns on the helicoptering lightsaber, I was like, he could just stab you through it. There's no protection in the middle there. But it was kind of cool that he split it in half and they start dueling with it. And
very cool.
Yeah, and now part of me was like, because like I know that Obi-Wan initially had said to her like for them to team up to take on Vader, and then like she had said no, but I thought like maybe he still would have stayed there with her to.
Yeah,
he kind of left her to dry. A
little bit, yeah.
And I was like, oh well, she's gonna die.
Yeah.
Bye.
It was what I did, especially after his whole like, you're not taking him to me, I'm taking him to you, or it gave me big like, like, I'm not locked in here with you, you're locked in here with me. Yeah, but I liked this whole thing too, and then like the fact that like
like when he cuts her saber in half and he like tosses it to her, I was like, oh, well, at least Vader's a good sportsman.
Yeah. He appreciates a
If
fair
not,
fight.
Yeah, or he's just like playing with his food, kind of thing. Where, like he wants a little bit of a challenge. He doesn't want to just like slash her in
It's
half.
not fun that way,
Yeah, and like during all this too, we get like the last bit of a flashback where like Obi-Wan says to Anakin that if he overcomes his desire to basically prove himself, and that because that's his undoing, he can progress from being a Padawan at that point. So like during all this too, eventually Reva gets stabbed in the gut, much like she stabbed the Grand Inquisitor in the gut. So if you get the role of Grand Inquisitor, you're
gonna get stabbed.
You're probably gonna get stabbed in the gut.
100% stab rate.
Yeah. Question is, do you come back with octopus legs or not?
Yeah. I understood that reference. Yeah, so and then
I like the line from Vader in this where he's like, "You don't think I remember you? Like I knew who you are."
Yeah.
Like it's like I knew who you were the entire time.
Like he has the Force. Of course he knew the entire time.
Yeah. And then like canon is reestablished for Rebels with Rupert Friend walking in as the Grand Inquisitor again. So he is still alive to be alive 5 years from now for Star Wars Rebels.
There you go.
Now, I don't know if they'll explain what's going on with his gut now, or if like what'll happen there, or if that's just you guys watch Book of Boba Fett. That's what happened.
Yeah.
But from here too, like as the ships are taking off, like as we said a little bit earlier, Vader. It's basically like a decoy ship. He pulls one down and like just like rips,
destroys it.
Yeah, like rips it open. I was like, oh well, all those people are dead.
Yeah, that's what I thought. And I was like, well, that was anticlimactic.
Yeah, and then the other one takes off. You're like, oh, nice.
Yeah.
So that was pretty awesome. And then we see that as everyone was running out, Kamal dropped that Obi-Wan's space cell phone. Yeah.
Yeah.
And it got stepped on and broken. The wounded Reva picks it up and, as we were saying, here's all the appropriate verbs and nouns in there to know where to head to next. So we'll see if she gets some kind of gut fixings going on for her too.
I suppose, yeah.
So she crawled from where Vader stabbed her all the way to where he destroyed that ship?
I think those were two different rooms.
Right. She was she dragged herself there.
I don't know. I think it was two different rooms. I don't remember. I'd have to watch it again. But I think it was two different rooms. But like from there, we cut to like the ship where like Obi-Wan kind of has kind of like this same sense of like something bad is gonna happen. But you realize I don't think anyone has said I have a bad feeling about this in the show yet. So I guess that would have been an appropriate spot to say it, if anywhere.
It's true. Although we did get Obi-Wan in this episode said there are other ways to fight, which reminded me a lot of the there are alternatives to fighting when they're getting sucked into the tracker beam into the Death Star.
Oh yeah. And then from there we cut to young Luke Skywalker sleeping in his bed on Tatooine.
Unbeknownst to him.
Yeah.
And that is the end of this episode of Obi-Wan.
So here's my biggest question going into part 6. Will we find out about Ben's brother? Because he mentioned having a brother back in episode 1 or 2. Will that get resolved, and will it be Owen?
Good.
If you go back to the very beginning of the episode, I forgot to mention it. When they start that Coruscant lightsaber training, look at Obi-Wan's lightsaber. You can tell it's a prop.
Oh, really?
Because if you look down at it, you see like the tiniest little circle instead of like the opening you normally see.
Ah.
I was like, oh, that's a mistake.
Huh.
Just a
the
fun
thing I noticed with those sabers too is that they're definitely supposed to be like sparring sabers because they're not like Anakin or Obi-Wan's actual sabers that they even had in episode 2.
Ah.
Because I feel like those would have to be special sabers for sparring because you don't want to accidentally cut off your Padawan's head or arm or
Sure.
foot or whatever it may be.
Maybe you do. Maybe you don't. Who knows?
Yeah. But yeah, because we kind of brought this up last episode too, like where there's got to be like a setting like on the saber too, where it's like intensity
Sure.
with like how you can cut through stuff. Maybe it's like a heat setting. So
Yeah, these
goes from-
lightsabers are set to stun.
Exactly.
yeah,
Yeah.
there you go. There's like batons rather than swords.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that was episode 5, part 5. From what we've seen now, what would you guys like to see in the finale before we wrap up and head out for this episode? Frank first and then Mike.
I would like to see some well, I think that Vader needs to think Obi-Wan's dead. So I want to see how they resolve that. I would also love, just because I think Favreau and Filoni have a knack for this kind of thing. Obviously, folks have been wondering how in A New Hope, how does Vader say, last time we saw each other, I was the learner and you were the master. I would love to see that justified in a way, right? Like, I would love to see them make that line make sense still. Because my interpretation was always, well, at the end of Revenge of the Sith is what he's talking about, the last time they saw each other.
Yeah.
But now that they've seen each other since, I would love to see something that still ties that line in.
Yeah. And how are you, Mike?
I don't think, just going off of what Frank said, I don't think he's gonna think he's dead, because there is that line in A New Hope, like, I haven't seen you in years or something like that. But it could be that he thinks he's dead. I think they got to have one final showdown for sure. And maybe Vader gets lit on fire again. Because he isn't as agile in A New Hope as he is in this, even though he's still lumbering and just forceful in this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So he's got. I think he's going to get injured again in some fashion.
Yeah. And we did still have that concept art. Like, I know stuff can change from concept art, but there was that one bit of concept art they released that was kind of similar to something of like their fight on Mustafar, where it showed like Vader and Obi-Wan like dueling somewhere that there's a lot of fire going on. So it should be interesting to see if that's in the finale or if that was like the concept art interpretation of what we saw in episode like part 3 of the series.
Sure.
That should be interesting. I think there's definitely probably going to be another duel between them in the finale.
Maybe it's on Tatooine.
Yeah,
Vader goes home.
that would be interesting to see Vader back on Tatooine. Yeah, because there's all this stuff they have to wrap up again. But again, maybe they won't, because now there's rumors that there's going to be a season 2 of this limited series that maybe isn't that limited of a series anymore.
I'd be thrilled.
I'd welcome it. I'd welcome a one-off movie to wrap some things up too.
Yeah.
Just something more, because I can't believe we're at the last episode.
Same. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I'm all for it, and for everything, just because I trust them with that. Like, as people can see, like when they watch the shows, any of the shows, they just need to be patient and not like be like, oh, what I want didn't already happen.
Right.
Well,
right.
You only watched one episode, so why don't you be patient and wait for like the entire thing to be done before you
I have that tendency,
complain about
but
stuff.
I can also understand that I'm being ridiculous.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, yeah, as long as you can identify that in yourself.
Exactly.
That's the whole thing. But yeah, I've really been enjoying this. I'm excited for the finale next week. And yeah, I with that, we'll close out this week. And remember that everybody, you can leave us a review on the podcast catcher of your choice, whether it's Spotify or Apple Podcasts or anything else that lets you, leave a review on there. It helps us out when you do that. You can find the show on social media at HoldoPod on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, and then if you search for Holdo Maneuver Podcast on YouTube, you can find us there too. And then you can find us individually on social media. On Instagram and Twitter, I'm at my first and last name, Mark Vibert, MarcVibbert. And Mike?
Yeah, I just search my name on Instagram or Twitter, Michael Soren. Last name's not spelled how it sounds, SAWRAN with an underscore after it. That's just the handle. Don't post much. I just mainly release my when I do stuff here or I do stuff in my own movie review channel on YouTube. It's usually all I talk about.
And then Frank?
Yeah, you can find my podcasts at the Thought Bubble Audio Network at thoughtbubbleaudio.com. Beer with Geeks is sort of the flagship show there where Tim and I crack open a beer and talk about a geeky topic every week. We just talked about Supergirl, the 1984 movie.
Nice.
And you can follow me at Frank Ramblings on Twitter.
Nice. You guys are well versed in talking about Supergirl.
Yeah, we know a thing or two.
Yeah. And then you guys can also follow our editor, Vector, at Vector on all the places online. And then you can email us at... Oh, go ahead.
So you got to tell Vector to stop giving such controversial reviews.
Really? In fact, don't follow him. Like, just, this guy. Actually, I have to give him a shout out. His Instagram reels lately have been awesome.
Oh, yeah, those have been pretty good. Like, if you guys have any questions about comic books, anything related to them, definitely check those out. They're pretty informative. Especially if you have questions about different stuff.
I really liked his reel on comics to read if you liked Stranger Things.
Yes. Especially if you're running up that hill to read more of those comics.
Hey. I see what you did there.
Yeah. And then also you guys can email us at HoldoPod@gmail.com. And then, as always, we are grateful to George Lucas for creating the Star Wars universe.
Oh my, thank the maker.